The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. Special meeting of the White Pine County Commission, March 16, 2020.
Commission meeting. Would you all please stand and join us in the pledge? And Mike, would you lead us today?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as for our normal meeting, we'll take the first minute of this morning to allow you to meditate, pray, or just do whatever you like to clear your head, but take this first minute. Okay. The first thing on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment this morning before I get started on this special meeting? George, please go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I asked at a previous meeting for a copy of the resignation letter of your former emergency management person. I've yet to receive that. I also asked if the community choir received a building permit for the Centennial building. That's terrible over there. I can't get a permit to take care of my building, and yet I see that going on. You have a problem with your building inspector, and you need to address that. You're punishing me, or someone is punishing me for no reason at all. You claim that there's a housing shortage, yet I can't put my properties in order. Something needs to be done. Mr. Chairman, I've yet to receive a refund for the business license I paid. You did away with that particular ordinance or whatever it is. Not everybody paid. I did. I want my money back. Either we all pay or nobody pays. Mr. Chairman, I've yet to receive any compensation for the damage incurred on my property at 622 High Street. I turned the individuals in. I don't know what the problem is. I've not been asked to show up to testify. Nothing. I pay thousands of dollars for protection, and I'm not getting it. I'm required to buy permits so you guys can protect me. I'm not getting anything. It needs to be addressed. Mr. Chairman, at a previous meeting, I asked if you advertised the property in the newspapers required by NRS, meaning the 13, 14 lots that you gave to a developer. Did you get an appraisal? Again, what was it? I will remind you that I and other property owners don't stand a chance when we have paid market value for our land only to have our legs cut out from under us. We are required to pay full price for any hookup fees, not business license, building permits, and you guys are asking for a waiver, for crying out loud. That's wrong. You set up the rules and regulations. The taxpayer, the citizens didn't. You have to abide by the same rules and regulations. I want to remind you that federal law prohibits any discrimination in any federally funded or assisted utility or program. Let me remind you that the single largest detriment to growth in White Pine County is the city-county building inspector. How many times I got to tell you that? And you guys are running an end run on any of the regulations you are facing. Can't do that. That's selective enforcement. That is discrimination, blatant discrimination, and it needs to stop. I asked earlier at a meeting if there was concern with nepotism, Mr. Bobby's daughter being hired by the county. I've yet to receive an answer. I want an answer. I gave you examples of former Commissioner, my brother John Chachas, as well as Julio Costello. The rules haven't changed. You got to be equal and fair. You just took a Pledge of Allegiance, remember?
That's 3 minutes, George. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other public comment?
I have one.
Yeah,
Nice suit.
Just real quick, good morning. With the governor's latest message out to the state, there was a line in there that talked about reducing the amount of individuals on a premises to whatever the fire marshal's capacity is to 50%. And that, the only reason that is a concern for me right now is thinking about the pool. With schools not in session, we may end up having a big influx of kids at the pool, and I don't know if we're ready or want to address that somewhere in our process here. But that's the first thing that hit me this morning is we have a lot of parents that probably are going to let their kids just hang out at the pool, and I don't know if Christie is staffed for that or prepared for that. And the other thing was on senior centers. And I noticed across the state, senior centers are closing. So I'm sure that's going to be something that we're going to want to talk about as far as feeding and what the process would look like. Thanks.
Mike, I'm going to turn this over to Mike for a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the public that's present know and the commission know that our emergency manager, who will be appointed, or could be appointed this morning, is holding the first meeting at the partially open EOC today at 2 o'clock with certain executive stakeholders to begin the planning process to answer these exact concerns that we've heard from Tim and some of the people concerned about in our community. The senior center is the top of that list for substantive today, but basically we're going to set the organization going forward and how to keep the public informed. So that'll occur this afternoon at 2. It is not an open meeting to the public. It is not required to be open to the public, but a report from those meetings will be given to the media after those meetings of the week.
Is that what you want to be allowed?
Yeah, basically, in times like this, sometimes you can't wait to have a commission meeting 2 weeks out. So this is part of public comment still. Some decisions could be made at the department head level and then brought back for ratification after action review from the commission in the next commission meeting. For example, if we need to close a pool, all of a sudden we'll close the pool and then we'll come back and update the commission and figure out how to plan that better going forward if it's necessary.
Will that all be done during this meeting this afternoon, not during this meeting now?
Correct, we can, yes, and then once we're out of public comment, I'll give some direction on this meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other public comment right now? Elizabeth.
Yes, I just wanted to let the commission know and the public here know that we do have a coronavirus webpage out there now providing official links to different information as well as information on the coronavirus. So we would ask that instead of listening to information that might be misinformation out in the public, that people go to that website and look at those official websites for official information. Thank you.
Absolutely, very important. Thank you for that.
Okay. Is there any other public comment?
Do you want me to comment on the pool or no? I don't know if that's something Mike would want.
It's public comment. You can comment on whatever you want.
It would just be my suggestion.
Please come forward.
Okay. Just because we have had a lot of people, especially this morning, approach me, what I would suggest how we handle the pool is we remain open, but for general use only. We cancel our group activities, all of our classes, and open swim to just encourage parents to send their children up to us. Just because even in the past Friday and Saturday, we've had almost triple what our usual use is.
So the open swim for the children is canceled?
That's what I would suggest, and we would just be open for therapy and lap swim. So that would be my suggestion.
I suggest you, I mean, this board has ultimate decision over that.
Right,
I
yes.
suggest you make those changes and then we'll come back on the agenda to review
Okay.
and make some,
That works with me. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to be discussing, I think the afternoon meeting, Mike's made that clear that there'll be a lot more information come during that meeting that we can do collectively as a group that's not on this agenda here, and we can discuss. We will be discussing the senior center, the aquatic center, and several other items through LEPC. Am I right, Mike?
It will have to do with LEPC. LEPC will not be present, but their chairman and their vice chairman will be present. You and Ms. Carson have been invited specifically for this one, is liaison to fire and EMS services, and then we'll retain as a vice chair, that's Travis for the commission, right?
Yeah.
Vice chair. All other commission business could, down the road, be put on your shoulders if we were doing management, emergency management. So we'll come back and update and clarify those roles in the next commission meeting.
So just Laura and Richard?
Just for today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just an organizational meeting, and to address a couple key issues like the aquatic center and the senior center this afternoon.
Yeah, and just for the public's information, that's to protect all of us from the open meeting law. We have two commissioners, won't be a quorum. Is there any other public comment before we get started today? We're going to be isolating and staying on task for the agendized items. And that being said, we're gonna go on to page 2. Item 1 is discussion for possible action, the approval to appoint Brett North as the interim emergency manager due to the declaration of the national emergency concerning COVID-19. So, is there anyone who, we talked about this during the, and I think we acted, and correct me if I'm wrong, during the fire commission meeting, to appoint Brett, and then we're now going through the county commission meeting to make it a county commission decision, am I right?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. We discussed the 6-month apparatus and everything with Brett and got that all in motion, but we did it during the fire commission meeting. And this special county commission meeting is just to go with that as the county commission and move forward with the same process. And I'd like to hear if any commissioner would like to speak up on that.
I would like to make a
Okay.
motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Lori and a second by Travis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, passed unanimous. Item number 2 is discussion for possible action, the approval to consider compensation determination for interim position as the emergency manager for 6 months. And Tim, why don't you come up and give us what those figures are, if you can?
So I had sent this as a backup material on the first one for the fire commission, but just to point this out. So Brett is currently at a step 1 for the district fire chief, which is at the 61.8. And then for the district fire chief, director of emergency services, at step 1 would be 81,370. It's 19 and change difference. This is in keeping with the table that was created before I was here, even where the board had made that decision as to what that would look like.
Right. And speaking to what Tim said, I was on the board when Brett Waters was given dual duties, and we looked at that compensation. It's almost exactly the same amount of money. I think it was $20,000, so just right in that 200 or 300. So that is staying in task or on line with what we did before. So wearing 2 hats and with the 2 jobs, I personally think that's adequate. But if one of the commissioners wanted to discuss some other option, I welcome that as well.
And then just for clarification, just so you know what that amount is, it's actually 81,370 for the dual. That is step 1.
Sounds good to me.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, move to approve at 81,370.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Travis, I think Ian made the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
One second, I would just like to ask Brett if he feels comfortable with that.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
So,
Do you feel that's adequate compensation?
yeah, especially for the 6 months.
And just stay on that. At 6 months, we'll be discussing with Brett how things are going, if he feels comfortable staying in that position, and then we'll act on making it permanent or whatever we have to do at the 6 months. So for that 6-month period, we have a motion and a second. And is there any other discussion on this matter? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passed unanimous. Thank you. So those were the 2 items that were on this agenda today, and that's what we go by in these meetings. We go by just the agendized items. So those being done and the action being taken, we are going to go to public comment is the last item on today's agenda. Please come forward.
Sorry, and I just got one last thing that the public health office in our building was contacted this morning and informed that they need to close their office. They're working only with a certain demographic of what they're treating. They have to be accessible. but the state admin assistants are all being asked to go home. So Bernadette has asked, what is the county's direction, and maybe that'll come up in this afternoon's decision, but wanted to make sure that you folks were aware of what's going on there, because they're up in the uproar as to what to do next.
While we're on this, and just because we are, what are we gonna do with this? We're meeting at 2 this afternoon. Everybody knows this is a federal mandate through the president, it's a state mandate through Governor Sisolak. The senior center is open for lunch, and this is why I bring this up, at noon. Do we go ahead, or just status quo?
Yeah, we're gonna feed them today, but then we're
Okay.
gonna adjust how we may be delivering that in the future, so we have to discuss that today.
Even though state and federal, the county has yet to declare
That's
its
correct.
own.
And there are resources of the county when we do that, but that is
Yeah.
again gonna have to be board decision. So
Absolutely.
there's a few things going on, we just have to figure out what are our top priorities so we can agenda it correctly at the next meeting. That's why it's a smaller meeting this afternoon.
And then the next meeting would be our regular meeting. on
March 25th, and those items are due tomorrow morning for the agenda.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions of what we discussed today with
Just like to thank Brett for stepping up to the plate on this, so greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And good luck.
Yeah.
We'll be behind you. Okay. That being said,
We're all here.
I'll look for a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Ian,
Second.
second by Travis. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Pass unanimous. Thank you all for coming.
Bill, he says, way behind you.
This famous coronavirus is the first one. It's split sometimes.
You don't have to worry about Bliss, we got plenty of that.
So she should,
So,
my thoughts are,
This has been a Georgetown production. George Chatchis reporting.